Guys,
Right,
tonight
okay.
on the show, we've got the ZooToo warrior, Chris Grabham, also known as Chris McNeil. For those of you who don't know, Chris is an old swimming coach of mine and has a fair few stories to tell throughout his swimming and coaching career. So without further ado, Chris, how you been? It's been a while since we've last spoke.
Last time I seen you, you were just a wee whippersnapper, you know what I mean? So
Aye,
it's changed days now. You make me feel old.
I know, I know.
You
I
haven't
see,
you haven't changed much, mind you.
what, just like just sort of gotten bigger
It's
sort
just
of
a
thing.
growing version. Aye, yeah,
Growing version.
definitely.
Good stuff, good, good. Well, I'll take that as a compliment then, because it means that I probably look
Aye,
younger. Lovely stuff.
definitely.
So I see you got a wee boy now in that as well. Got a wee
Yes, I
one.
do. Yeah, Renee, he's
Good stuff.
4. He's 5 in December.
Fantastic.
He's amazing. Yeah,
Good
one of the
stuff.
best things to ever happen to me. And he loves his swimming. He's
Superb.
obsessed with swimming.
Good
Gets
stuff.
in the van on a Friday. He's like, "Daddy, can we go swimming?" So
Oh, brilliant.
he was swimming at 3.5. Do you know what I mean? So aye, if he wants to go into the sport, great. If he
Mm-hmm.
doesn't, I'll support him in whatever he wants to do. But hopefully, he
Definitely.
gets into some sort of sport because
Aye.
you know how good it is to get into a sport when you're young.
100%. I definitely think mentally now as well, they're very linked. Sort of sport and sort of physical activity keeps you sort of good in the headspace as well.
Oh, agreed. That's
Definitely.
why I swim now.
I know.
That's why I swim now.
I
Definitely,
know.
yeah.
Yeah.
And look at what's happened. You know,
Mm-hmm.
more people when this pandemic we're in just now. More people are taking up sport. The local
100%.
bike shop was absolutely stowed. People are out walking, running.
I know. I
It's
know.
good that the gyms have opened back up. So yeah, you
I
need
know.
that endorphin release.
100%.
You know.
100%. So, is it joinery you're doing these days? Aye. Sort of.
Yes, I
Mm-hmm.
know. I'm a joiner. As you know, I always was a joiner, but coaching was my
Mm-hmm.
main job when I coached you guys.
100%.
I love doing joinery. Um, you know, I was off the tools for a wee bit as a kind of joiner foreman, and
Aye.
wasn't for me. You know, I
Aye.
just didn't get the same buzz about it.
Aye.
Shouting at people, telling them what to do, and
Aye.
dealing with pernickety stuff.
Aye.
But actually putting in a good graft and standing back at the end of the day and seeing what you've actually done is really rewarding for me. You know what I mean?
100,
So I'm lucky to
100%.
be a joiner and fall in it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but
Aye.
I do miss the coaching. But
Aye, I know, I know, I know. I suppose,
I
I
know you'll
suppose,
come to that probably later on.
I suppose when you sort of see that, when you sort of you've put in a good shift and you've worked hard to get a job done in joinery, I suppose you can kind of maybe sort of see that in the sense of coaching. If you coach someone quite
Oh,
well, and then you can sort of see them progress and up to like a certain level, where they're maybe winning medals and stuff.
well,
Always
that's
quite linked.
yeah, but it's slightly different because,
Mm-hmm.
as you know, it's all about baby steps, and it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like, okay, right, guys, let's try and do 10 100s of 2 minutes, hitting a certain time. It was all about building it up and
Mm-hmm.
seeing you develop, and you know, you're talking about from a 3 month cycle
Mm-hmm.
to actually seeing their development or over a year, or else. Do you remember you last year? You hated swimming. You didn't want to come, and now
Aye,
look at you now. You won a medal, all that
once
sort of
again,
thing. So
aye.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's slightly different. Sometimes you get instant results, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and in swimming, and then other times it's the joys of being a coach.
Aye.
It's a bit of a roller coaster,
I
you
know,
know.
I know. So sort of having an uncle that was a Commonwealth swimmer. I take it you
Yes.
got in the water at an early age then, sort of with him.
Oh, I mean, if you have to look at a lot of baby pictures, I don't have any on hand, thank goodness. You know, I was always thrust into the water.
Aye.
On my Instagram page, I put some pictures. My granny had a chest of tables,
Mm-hmm.
and she dressed me up in my uncle's trunks, his cap and goggles, and was getting me to dive. Kid on, I was diving off, holding his trophies, diving off these chest of tables, going to see my
Madness.
uncle in competitions,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
missing days of school to go and see him, watching him on the
Superb.
telly.
Mm-hmm.
He was Scottish champion, British champion,
Mm-hmm.
Scottish record holder. That record in the 1500 and the 400 he held for 20 odd years. Graham
Crazy.
Smith, it was a famous distance swimmer that swam at Stockport Metro, broke that record. And I mean, I got to share a room with him, you know, at my grandparents' house, and there's all these medals and trophies up on the wall. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be having this conversation with you. You know, he was such an influential character, and he was such a big inspiration to me. And you know, my gran would constantly say, "Are you enjoying your swimming? Do you like your swimming?" So she really got 2 children that she lived through swimming, you know, or got to enjoy watching them and swimming. And the reason she was asking me did I enjoy it so much, Blair, was because I think she knew that my uncle, even though he was super talented, didn't maybe really truly love swimming. And whereas with me, I was obsessed, you know. I mean, there's nothing else mattered. I went to school, never missed a day of school, but you know, if there was a school dance, there's a school dance, Gran, and she's like, well, you've got training that night, and I'll be like, yeah, that's right.
I know.
You know what I mean? I mean,
yeah.
I know. I mean, I never had a girlfriend through high school. Everything was just swimming. You know, I loved it. You know, but my uncle, you know, people would stop and talk and ask me about him, and I have a lot to thank him for, definitely. But more so my grandparents, who, as you know, like your mum and dad, the commitment is phenomenal.
100%.
To 5 mornings, I don't know if you got, but when you get 5 mornings at 4:45 in the morning.
I don't think I got to that stage. I got to about 3.
You know, 3. Well, that's pretty impressive. You know what I mean? To go 3 mornings before school, go and do a full shift at school, and then go back and swim at night.
I remember Thursdays. Thursdays was the day for us, and it was always it was the early morning 5:30 to 7 shift that we done at Neilston. And I remember I went into school, and my pal Calvin at the time said to me, he's like, "You're up for the mile run today?" I was like, "I've swam for an hour and a half," and he's like, "What?" I was like, "I swam for an hour and a half this morning." And he's like, "Mate, you're off your head." And I was like, "I've got 3 hours training after school as well." He's like, "And you're doing a mile run, man." He's like, "You've lost it." He just couldn't believe it.
But nobody, nobody understood it because, Blair, you know, the thing is, you guys and so many others, the dedication you need. You know, it's hard enough maybe to go swimming at night after school, but to get up out your bed at 4:30, 4:45, fling some Frosties down your mouth or porridge or whatever you had, and go and swim. Slice of toast, go and swim. And whoa, boom, get your heart rate up, and you know, and you're giving it. It's not an easy plod up and down. You're doing for an hour and a half in the morning.
It's taxing. It's taxing.
I remember plenty of times, just either crying into my goggles or just not wanting to be here. You know what I mean? But like my gran would come into the room and she'll like, "Right, Christopher, up," and I was like Frankenstein. I just went like that. I was straight up. There was never any with me. There was never any tossing, turning. As soon as she said get up, I never closed my eyes for another wee minute like I do before my work. I was up. And the clothes were laid out the night before. The plate of porridge came through, wolfed it down, and away we went.
I know. That's the thing. Like, I've not personally swimming. I've not really been swimming much, obviously, because I mean, but there's still the Masters that's on. But I think it's with the guidance and stuff. It's like if you're 18 and over, you can't train in a group and stuff like that. There's like, so that's that. So that's sort of kicked into place and. Now it's like the mornings I'd be doing are over at the Paisley Lagoon, and I start work. I start work about 7, and it's about 6 to half 7. Right. So for the morning, so I mean, I would do it if it was like at night time and stuff like that. Like if it was like the evening, I'd go further swimming and that. But to be honest, I've been running quite a wee bit. I always do. I do a 10K a week, and then I go to the gym at least 3, if not 4 times. Just that week.
And do you
a regular thing? That's
good. At least you're doing something. Do you feel that getting out your bed now to go swimming in the morning is 2,000 times harder than it was when you were a whippersnapper? Because for me personally, to get myself out of bed, I mean, I tried. I come back at swimming And I'm not be ashamed to say I failed because I struggled to get out of my bed.
I know.
You know, in my mid-20s, when I tried to have another crack at it, and I just, for me, but just now, the times we're living in, what Masters competition is there to train for?
There's nothing. There's
You
no.
know,
There's
there's
no
nothing.
goals. There's no goals. I know.
No.
Because I mean, that's the thing. Like me and my pal would go to the gym. We were like that. We were like, it's good. It's good to go to the gym and that like during the week because there's nothing really else to do. But at the same time, it's like, but it's like we're just recreational gym go. Like we're not like training for any big event. There would be no big event to sort of like if we were to do a weightlifting event or like a fighting event. No, don't really see myself as being a boxer or a UFC champion or that.
Cage fighter,
Khabib or someone. But
you can put your mind to anything if you want, and you know that. You know what I mean? And
I know.
but at the end of the day, though, what they're saying to elite athletes at the moment, they're just saying, look, tick over. Just keep yourself ticking over and get the endorphin release, get the mind space, get the mind clear after a stressful day, and then head up the road. But I know what you mean. There's no other temptations like, oh, you come to the pub later, you know what I mean? Or whatever
100%.
these guys do.
Yeah.
You know, because you can't go, you know what I mean? So people are getting fit, you know what I mean?
I know.
And stuff. So,
I know. So how long did it take you to get your first medal for swimming?
Oh, first medal for swimming would probably be like a school gala. Medals, okay, medals are very, very important, but for me, I always wanted trophies. I was obsessed with trophies, and I never won probably many trophies as I want, because some competitions at the West Districts, you would get certain trophies for, and I never ever remember getting any particular special trophies. But oh yeah, medals, get a big bag of them. I recently found. What age would I be? I'd be about 6 or 7. I would say at a school gala. I started competing when I was 8, 9 with Renfrew Baths. That was a local club where Munco also started, and it probably would have been club champion there. And then when I was 10, I moved to Renfrew District, who then amalgamated. They were Paisley and Barrhead. And then they amalgamated with Eastwood and Neilson to form as what you know as Ren 96. So, but yeah, I don't actually. That's terrible. I don't actually remember winning I remember winning my first gold medal. And you know, as anyone would recollect, and it was at the West Districts. I was 10 or 11, and it was a 200 back crawl, and I was heat 1 of 2 heats, and I went in. And no expectation, not thinking anything. I hadn't really been making any amazing progress, but I burst onto the scene after that 200 back crawl and heat 2. I'm getting my feedback off my coach, Dave Hill, God rest his soul. He just recently passed away last year, and he's giving me feedback about my race, and he's like, "You're going to win this. You're going to win this." And the two of us just embraced each other, and we're like, "Well, hey!" And then I turned around and looked at the balcony, and my gran and my aunt were there, and my grandpa, who went to every competition, and it was just amazing, you know. And I'll never forget that feeling. I'll have that medal somewhere. And then, as you know, the West Districts were in different groups, so there was different events, and then I'd won that from heat 1, and then all of a sudden you burst onto this scene. You're a back crawler, and it was a 100 back crawl. And it was between me and a boy called David Wilkie or not. He was named after the swimmer, swam for Cumbernauld. Fraser Allison, who swam for Bowness Beavers. In the final, I think I'm lying first or second in the final. And what did I do? As you go under the flags, you count your strokes.
Oh, you turned too early.
I looked for the wall. No. I looked for the wall. Right. And I went from first position into third position. So you remember your moments of sorrow as much as you remember your moments of ecstasy. You know what I mean? I remember getting disqualified in relays, doing a false start in a 1500 and not getting to swim a 1500.
Did you just give up at that point? Did you just go fresh the rest of the way?
No, it was the 1 start rule.
Right.
So it's the 1 start rule. So that was me out. Nobody else moved off the block. It was me. So I get pitched out, and I sheepishly went into the swim down pool, and you know, I had the slowest reaction off a start in the world.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? Because I never wanted to get disqualified, and that happened, and I was just like, oh, that was up at Aberdeen, but it wasn't a major competition. But my
Aye.
coach wasn't happy,
Aye, I
you
know.
know.
I know.
But
Aye.
these things happen.
So I take it when the first one came, did they come quickly after? Was there moments where you were like,
No,
I'm flying, or was it
no.
a right slog?
That time I went in the 100 back crawl when I was 11. I think it was a 119 or a 120, which we get laughed at now. Do you know I never broke that personal best, Blair, for something like 2 or 3 years?
Did you not?
I hit a wall.
Did you?
I was horrendous. My gran was so frustrated. My gran was a hard taskmaster, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, she just couldn't believe. She's like, Christopher, you've trained so hard, but you go to the competition and you just let them beat you.
Aye.
And you know, back crawl was my main event, and I couldn't move off a 119 for so long, but I never gave up. I still loved going training, you know,
Still
and
love the sport.
I loved the sport. But I'd tried my best at training, but when it came to competition, that was it. And I remember doing a timed 1500 in Barhead, and still Dave Hill was the coach then, and I just loved it. Just this endurance, just swimming 64 lengths non-stop. But it was very rarely that you got to do that in competition. And I remember it wasn't till I was 16 at the Scottish schools. We had a new coach, Grant Robbins, who was the first head coach around 96. Amazing coach, amazing guy. He was like a father figure to us. And he basically took us over, and it was a totally different type of training. I remember the first hardest set we done was 10 100s, maximum effort off 2 minutes. And we were like, what on earth is this? And we were just absolutely blown out our backsides. We had never experienced this type of training whatsoever. And I went to the Scottish Schools Championship and the finals. Now you do the heats at your local pool. And then at the finals, it was 8 lanes, I think, at the Royal Commonwealth Pool in Edinburgh. Did you ever get to swim at the Commonwealth Pool in Edinburgh?
I think I might have done in a school relay. It's a 50. It's a 50 metre.
50 metre, yeah.
For the schools when I swam in it, I think they cut it off to 225s. But there's a funny story.
That's right. Yeah, it's changed now.
There's a funny story about that. So we went to this schools competition.
There always is a funny story connected somewhere.
We were all swimmers. Like, it was me, Andrew Kilpatrick, a boy who swam for City of Glasgow, Ross Brennan at the time, and there was
heard that name, yeah.
There was David Muir. Do you remember David Muir?
Yes,
built guy, but he would people's favourite strokes. He would beat them at that, and then you're like that's their special stroke, and he's just went and there was spells where he was like swimming till the grave. Anyway, so we turned up in this bus, and one of the boys, Ross Overdyking, comes up to Andrew Kilpatrick, because Ross goes like that to Andrew. I've not got a pair of swimming trunks to wear, like jammers. So this boy Ross, he doesn't really swim, but he's athletic, so we're like, we'll bring him along. Andrew goes like that. There's your trunks, and it's a pair of proper Y fronts. And he's like, oh, I'm not swimming. I'm not. He's like, I was like, I told you. What? Like the trunks I wanted, the free quality. And then he's like, am I kidding you on? There you go. And he gives him a
That was close call, wasn't it?
It was brilliant.
You could have been swimming in it. He was a smart. He always was a character, that boy, wasn't he?
Oh, he was good. He was good. Oh, he's funny. He was.
God.
He was good.
But sorry, where were we? So it was the 400 front crawl, Commonwealth Pool, and when you walk into that place, the hairs in the back of my neck. I mean, the Commonwealth Games were held there in the 70s, then again in the 80s. It's just got this aura around it when you walk in there. So anyway, yet again, wasn't expecting anything. I went into the 400 front crawl and I turned last at the first 50. Last at the first 50, but I was lying in third place.
Right.
I was always a slow burner. I would always maybe negative split races. And
quicker in the
out
second
of nowhere,
half.
I won this. Yeah, always
right,
good in the second half. And I won it. But I'd not only won it, I'd won it in a qualifying time for the Scottish junior team. And I was just like, what on earth's happened? You know? And then that was when at 16, I burst onto the scene, you know. And but yeah, so there you go.
Superb. So I take it that was your kind of distance, sort of like longer distance, sort of 400, 800, 1500 type stuff. And then obviously with your back crawl, that was kind of, I take it that was maybe roughly about 100, 200 mark, or did you go higher than that?
No, I couldn't do back crawl after that.
Oh, could you not? No.
I was rubbish. I would maybe do it in a relay or in a Clyde Coast League match or something like that. But no, it was front crawl. The 200, 400, 800 and 1500. If I had a preference, I would probably say I absolutely loved the 400. 200 was when I say horrible is not the right word. The lactic acid it's a sprint, but it's not a sprint. The 200 front crawl, but yeah, I loved the events that you had to train for. So in my lane, I would be doing 3,200 meters of threshold work, lasting an hour and a half. And over in lane 1 and 2, they'd be doing 10:50s max sprint, hanging about for 5 minutes before the next repetition. But yeah, that was me through and through, hardcore. Nah, it's too easy, you know. I just loved the distance and the rhythm that you go in. But I mean, the events, 1500, I loved as well, yeah. But 400, I think for me, was my best,
the prime
event.
sort of one. Because I mean, see for the 100, 150 freestyle, you need to be off like the 1 o'clock gun. It's like you need to just give.
You need absolutely. Super reaction time. Yeah, you need. I wasn't particularly rubbish. I did have speed. Don't get me wrong. I did have speed, but nowhere near to qualify for a final. Of a Scottish Championship in the 100 front crawl. Because as I said earlier, my reaction speed was horrendous, which wouldn't help.
So when you were 17, moving on. So when you were 17, you were the 4th best in Britain for 400 front crawl and the 5th best for 1500 front crawl. What was the sort of pressure? What was the pressure like competing at that level?
Well, can I say firstly, when you say that to me, that just makes me smile because I've not forgotten about it. But you know, at 17 to be ranked 4th in Britain and 5th in Britain, you know, I remember the day my coach told me, he came over and he's like, "Chris, here's the rankings, the GB rankings." I'm like, "All right, okay, cool." You know, and to see those rankings, like the 3 guys in front of me in the 400, and respectively the 4 guys in front of me for the 1500, they were all English. And as you know, the English level was so much higher than the Scottish level, you know. So if you want to, I'm blowing my own trumpet, but I was probably ranked first in Scotland for my age for both of those events. But to do it in Scotland, it's amazing. But you have to go and prove it in England
100%,
and in Britain. But the pressure that came with that, I never ever seen that as pressure. I seen it as pressure when I opened the programme and I see myself lying first.
Right.
Oh, and that's you know, I like to be the underdog. You know what I mean? Look at those 2 races I told you about. 200 back crawl at 11. The 400 front crawl at 16 at Scottish schools. You know, that's where I like to be. You know, come out, not outside lane smoker, but you know, to see myself sitting 3rd, 4th would be, the heart rate wouldn't go as high. But when I look to see you're lying 1st place, yeah,
You're
I was.
shit.
How would I put this politely? I was, yeah, the pressure's there,
Aye.
and sometimes I didn't react well to that, and
Aye.
that's the difference of me being a good Scottish swimmer to being a superstar, because yeah, I didn't fully have the mental ability upstairs to stand on the block and go like that. All right, who's coming with me?
Aye.
You'll not beat me today.
Aye.
I never had that killer instinct. And you know, I had everything else. Like in training, no, I wouldn't let anybody beat me in training.
100%.
And in training, one of my fiercest rivals was in the same swim team as me, Robbie Hayton, you know, and he would train on the lane beside me, and we would push each other to the limit. And
it's a bit like
we would also have to go to competition.
do you mind? Do you mind? You always have that one person in the same squad as you.
Nemesis.
It was me. It was always me and Neil McCush. Do you remember? And it was like, I remember there was times when we were close, and I was like on his toes, and you'd be like, "Stay on his toes, Blair. The rest of this set." And like, I remember it was always his. Always his dad and my dad at Johnston. Go like, come on, Blair! Like both shouting. It was brilliant. That's just that stuff I look back at, and you're like, that's good memories, man. Good memories.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Things like that you don't forget. But
I know.
My uncle, I had the same conversation with my uncle. I'll tell you an interesting story quickly. He went to the European Championships, and they were doing a training set before the competition, and it was in Germany. It was in Bonn, 1980 something in Bonn, and basically what happened was he'd done 3 800s. Descending 1, 2, 3. So for nobody that knows, that means you get faster after each one. On the third one, from a push, he broke the Scottish record from a push. And these German doctors came round and lactic tested my uncle.
Aye.
And I don't know how they'd be allowed to do that nowadays. Different nationality doctors come to do that. So they told my uncle's coach, who so happened to be his club coach as well, Jim Park. They told him, oh, by the way, Campbell's, he's going to win the European Championships. He's going to win this. And they stupidly told my uncle this.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? And his arse collapsed. You know, there's no polite way of putting it.
Aye.
And he never had. Campbell reached a higher level than myself for different reasons that we'll probably want to talk about. But he admitted himself, you know, that he didn't have it fully. But it wasn't as if my gran never made us believe in herself. You know, it was always, you know, I would remember coming home for training. If I had one bad session, Blair, out of 10, because we swam 10 times a week, man, did I get hell in my ear the whole way home.
Aye.
You know, some competitions going into a race and it was a bad race. God, she wouldn't speak to you. You just got it in your ear. But that's what drove me. I needed that. I needed somebody on my back pushing me every single time. But not every parent's like that. You know what I mean?
100%.
I know, you know, I go in and I train hard and I don't need that. But I know she's on that poolside, and I know she's looking down at me and she's watching me. You know what I mean? Saying, make sure he doesn't beat you or whatever, you know, try harder, your stroke's not looking good, Chris. Stuff like that, you know what I mean?
But you always need that boot up at the backside though, just to get you through. And I mean, the more you get the boot up the backside, the more you become like you've got thick skin towards it, and you can say, right, okay, I maybe need to just push on a bit here and just do the right thing, you know.
Yes, yeah, no, definitely. And but sometimes though, some parents could push their kids the opposite way. I swam with a fantastic swimmer when I was younger. She wiped the floor at the Scottish Championships, and then she retired at the age of 12 or 13 because her father was too pushy. He was just absolutely too pushy, too forceful, and she just, the sport lost her. You know what I mean? And then you look at like Michael Phelps, his great coach, he didn't want to go morning training, Michael Phelps, and his coach said to his mum, okay, cool, all right, let's just do 1 or 2 mornings a week. You know, and if they hadn't have said that, well, it's all or nothing. He's not in my squad. The world would have lost Michael Phelps. You know, it's so that, you know, it's give and take. But with my gran, there was no give. You know, it was, you know, but without her, I wouldn't have achieved anything. I achieved nothing
100%.
without her. You know, not half it, nothing. You know, she was the backbone. When my grandfather was dying of cancer, when I was 12, like my grandparents, they pretty much brought me up from the age of 5, and my mum was young when she had me. She was only 19 when she had me, so she didn't really experience her party years. So she went out partying. I only ever seen my father on a Sunday. And he would drop me off swimming on a Sunday, so he cut his day short, spent with him. I was meant to be with my dad till 6, and then he would drop me off at training at 4 o'clock on a Sunday, and he would see me swim once a week. We did come to some competitions, you know, when I was younger as well. My mum never really came to that many. It was always my grandparents, and basically, I've lost my train of thought. What was I talking about
there? Your grandpa.
Oh yeah, so my grandfather was dying of cancer, and my gran would say to me, I hate I hate roller coasters. How am I going to learn to drive? But she learned to drive and passed. It took her a year, but she passed her test to make sure I got to swimming. Do you know, and you know, that's how much that she cared for me and much commitment. Yeah.
Wait,
do you know, because you know me, it's... Sorry?
I was just going to say, what age was she when she passed? I was just going to...
she was 50... I think she was 56. 54 or 56 when she passed her driving test. She failed the first time, and she passed it the second time, and when she walked through the door, the both of us burst out crying, just hugging each other, you know. And to achieve that at that age, driven only by, you know, the fact that her husband was dying, and to make sure that her grandson, because we shared a lift with somebody in the swimming, a family in the swimming, but she didn't want to be solely come dependent on that.
100%.
She wanted... You know, she wanted to be independent, and she done great. You know, she drove everywhere, took me to all the competitions. We left in plenty of time, and that was before sat-nav as well, you know.
Aye.
So
OS coordinate maps, like a big mad thing.
Let's get the map out. You know what I mean? Imagine us using a map now.
Aye, I know.
No chance.
I know.
Google Maps every time.
Where's the marker? Where's our marker in this? You know.
Aye.
But aye, the dedication you go through to succeed and to obviously go to training every day, it's next to none. Especially if you want to take it to the next level. And I think especially when you even I seen it as well when I was training. Like you could tell the family were like in it. Like we're going swimming. Like it's like it's built into the sort of, you know, your weekly routine, daily routine, you know.
Oh, aye, definitely. It's what sports out there do you need to train for 10 times a week? Do you know what I mean? For 4 to 6 hours a day. 2 of the hours are very unsociable early in the morning. You know, why are we not like the colleges in America and Australia, where instead of going to do stupid badminton that you're never going to play in your life, why are you not going to school and swimming for 2 hours 100%. Rather than getting out your bed at 5 o'clock in the morning? You know, why we've not adopted that yet? I can imagine if we did adopt that, is it the collegiate system that they have over there, would be even phenomenal. But I don't know the politics, the ins and outs, or the investment that needs. I know we've got School of Sports now, you know what I mean? One in Glasgow, one in Stirling, but you know, it's crazy. But yeah, I think somebody told me swimming tennis and water polo are the three hardest sports to do.
Aye.
Whether that's true, sorry if somebody's going to argue that, but personally, from me, I think it's tough.
Aye, I know.
You know, you mean it's from this point of view. Think of it like this. So I would say triathlon is tough as well. You're training for three different sports, but you get three variations of sports. Swimming is a case of repetition.
Aye.
You're alone with your thoughts. Triathlon, you get to train with people, cycle alongside them, run alongside them. Swimming is solely in the water, alone with your thoughts.
Aye.
And then you're having a conversation with your pal in your lane, and then you stop the conversation because you have to push off and do a repetition. And it could be a repetition of 400s. It takes you 4 minutes, 5 minutes to do, and you come back and you carry on that conversation where you left it off.
I know.
Do you know what I mean?
It's crazy.
You know, it's crazy. You know, and you never ever get you know, you're just constantly alone in your thoughts, and that pain your body's experienced, that lactate your body's, and it certainly turns you into a certain type of person.
100%.
You know, you are very, very robust, hardcore, determined individual to continue into your swimming past your teenage years. You know.
You mentioned triathlon there, so it's open water swimming. Did you sort of get into that later in your swimming career? Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Blair. When I was 17, I was away with the Scottish schools team, and I get nominated as captain.
Right.
Which was a very proud moment. And the next day, it was the Scottish Schools International, so it's England, Ireland, Wales, and us, obviously. And the day of the competition, I broke out on a real bad sweat in the poolside. I went in to do my warm-up, and now you do your pace swims. I was well off the pace. I felt horrendous. I went in, dived in from my 400 front crawl. Didn't swim terrible, but I felt these almighty chest pains coming down my last length. Right. And I just managed to climb out of the pool after my race, and I had my hands in my head and my hands even, and the lifeguard came over to me and she's like, "Are you all right?" And I'm like, "No, I don't feel good." Boom, on my back, my legs up in the air, carted away through the side, away in an ambulance. I was stuck in a hospital with my swimming trunks on for over 24 hours, my competition trunks. Thankfully I recovered down there. Circulation never cut off. And basically they thought it was a leaking valve. My family were back up. This was in Ipswich in England. My family were back up in Scotland. And I got all clear to fly home. The doctor's like, "You don't have a leaking valve." And then my gran, being my gran, the Scottish Championships were coming up. It's like that. We're going private. We're not waiting on the NHS. And they diagnosed it as pericarditis, which is inflammation of the sac surrounding the heart. The doctor said you find this with young, fit athletes who push to the limits, and it's common. Go back and train, he said. So I went back in and trained. I was not going to be fully fit for the Scottish Championships. So I went back in and I was aiming for the British Championships. I had to get my qualifying times again for the Scotland team. And one morning, 4 a.m, his chest pains came before morning training. Back down to the doctor. The GP phoned the guy, the doctor, the surgeon I was seeing, the consultant, sorry, and he said, "I'll take him out the water." So I spent the full 8 weeks of the summer holidays not playing football with my friends, not swimming, not playing basketball, doing nothing, and then give the body the rest. So I spoke to another doctor within the swim team, Mrs. Venner, Morag Venner. Her husband was a surgeon. I spoke to him on the phone, and he said to me, "You know, Chris, it's like glandular fever. All you can do for it is rest." I'm like, "Whoa, hold the fucking bus! This guy we've paid money had told me to go back in and train, and now you're telling me not to go and train, to rest."
Chalk and cheese.
So I'm like, what? This is somebody's life you're playing with and career. You know what I mean? Because that's all I wanted to do was swim. I didn't want to be anything else. And so we followed what they told us to do, and I went back in, and I was waiting for the pains coming back, if I'm honest. And they did come back, and not in a bad way, just a niggle. And I came out, game over. Just started college, so it was a new beginning, but I was devastated. And to have that taken away from me, shown so much promise, I couldn't put it into words. My gran was equally as devastated, you know.
100%. And
it was a very low point in my life. And what was on TV? The bloody Olympics in Athens. I'd been there with the Scotland team when 2 years previous, and I remember going home, you know, from Athens. I'm like, I'm going to be back here again, you know, and I just got that feeling, you know. And then obviously the Athens Olympics, so Steve Redgrave, and I remember watching him, you know, win his medal, and I read his book, and it was when he was retired after that, and I was saying about, you should never stop, you should never ever totally stop, you know, your sport. You should wind down, because you're like a trained horse in a way. You're this engine you've developed in your body. So I then went to where it all began for me at Renfrew Baths before work, and I swam twice a week. You put your money on the lifeguard chair, and you went in, got changed, went in, swam for an hour, and I was sitting at my desk doing college work, and had to phone an ambulance. These pains came back again.
Right.
I'm like, wait a minute, I've just retired from the sport I love. I'm sitting at my desk doing college work and having to get an ambulance. So this time I was in the RAH, and I got to see this doctor, and he got me back up for tests. So it's ECG trace, the treadmill test, and the echocardiogram of your heart. And I got the results, and he's like, I don't even think you've ever had pericarditis. And you're like, what? 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 It's like, I said, I don't think I've ever had that. Yeah, third doctor, and he specialised kind of in like sports stuff. I don't know exactly what he was doing with sport, and he's like, I think it's a muscle from your back that's gave you these pain-like symptoms. I'm like, nah, no chance. No, this type of pain, you know. And he's like, so that night I came home, and I was like, I don't know what I was thinking. Deflated. And the next day the phone went. A total mixture, anger, hatred. I've just retired from the sport, but what is he saying to me? What that doctor said to me, how can he get away with this? Far greater, worse things happened in medication. You know, people have died having surgery, you know what I mean, through neglect from doctors and so forth. So I got a phone call the next night from James Leach. He was a guy that used to be, he was a senior swimmer when I was a junior. He was already retired, but he used to just come and train with us in top squad. And he says, Chris, how would you like to take up triathlon? And I was like, oh, I'm up for that. I can use my strength swimming, cycling and running. And I took up triathlon. And in those days, it was very easy to get into the Scottish team to what it is now. I'm probably dulling it down. Maybe not very easy, but it was easier than what it was. And I got in the Scottish team for that. And basically, I got to go to the Commonwealth Games trials. I was in the leading group out the water, and I took cramp. It was terrible, terrible weather on the day of the race, and I always had an issue with cramp in my calf. Still to this day, still get it, I never get to the bottom of it. And I took cramp on the bike, and I was never going to the Commonwealth Games, but I got to take part in it. And then I actually found out I was getting considered for the GB team as a swimming domestique in some triathlon cup. And basically, I ended up retiring from triathlon. I fractured my third metatarsal, and on a treadmill. and I didn't know I'd done it.
Brilliant.
And I basically went to the doctor or whoever it was that put me in the cast and can this come back? And he's like, no, the bone heals, blah blah blah. And I was like, this could come back, couldn't it? You know, it's running repetitive.
Aye,
And I was like,
know.
I'm finishing, I'm quitting in my terms. I am not quitting. I'm not getting another sport taken away from me.
Aye.
So I quit triathlon. I think I'd done it for 2 years, bought a fancy bike, fell in love with the bike, so I just cycled
Fair enough.
with a group of guys, and I never watched swimming on TV for years, and then I just partied,
enjoyed yourself,
met girls, enjoyed myself. Well, I was probably very long overdue because I was in my early to mid 20s and I hadn't really partied, you know. And then so that was that. That was another sport getting taken away from me.
Did you get into
it?
Aye, I know. Did you get into any other sort of bizarre, strange sports that you've sort of thrown your hat into the ring? I remember what was it?
Oh, yeah, I have actually. Aye, football. If my mates are listening, they would absolutely laugh at me. One of my best friends, I shared a flat with him,
Right.
Simon, and he stays out in Australia now. And he said to me, Chris, do you fancy coming along to this football championship? I've got all this funding from a university team. Go to compete at the championship, and it was all you needed was your beer tokens. That's all you needed. So I turned up at Simon's house, and I'd moved out by this stage, and they're all looking at me funny. Like some of them are really pissed off looking. I was like, oh shit, what's happened? One of the boys like, can you play football? I'm like, no, are you joking? I burst out laughing and they all just went tutted and like, oh fuck's sake, man. I was like, hey, what is it? He's like, 3 guys have pulled out. And I got to go and play, and it turned out to be the World University World Cup for football. And we get there, and I'm telling you, you could not script this. So we get there, fly there, we get the minibus with a trailer attached, get all the kit on, driving along the motorway, and there's this big fancy Merc comes along beside us and waves us over. And I'm like, let's get on. It was the owner of the company. Your payments no went through for the minibus. We're like, what? One of the guys had to put it on his credit card. It was just a disaster, right? So he put it on his credit card. We then get to the hotel. Sorry, there's no reservation for you here. The university hadn't sent on the reservation, but you can stay tonight. It's okay. You can stay here tonight. And you're like, what the fuck? Simon was stressed out his box, and then we went for a training session the next day, and it just turned into an absolute rammy. Everyone was shouting, and oh my god, it was horrendous. So anyway, we turned up for the first day of the competition. We had 11 players, and 11 players only. And we were in with the Germans, who were defending champions, a team from Belgium, Icelandic team, and a Romanian team. So the first game, 10 minutes in, one of our guys slapped one of the Belgian boys across the face, gets sent off. We get absolutely pumped 4-0. Second match was on the next day against the Germans. And the Germans loved us because they drank in a bar, a university bar in Germany where they were from, called the Paisley Bar. They loved us, man.
So a boy for Paisley, like yourself, you're going straight there.
Straight there, and they basically, when they came the first year, they won it with 11 players. So they absolutely loved us. And their wee coach, I'm telling you, was like wee Mickey out of Rocky. Just this wee guy with a wee woolly bonnet on, do you know what I mean? And we played the Germans, we were like, we're going to get crucified 10-0. Do you know we lost 3-0? 3-0 we lost. we thought we'd won the fucking match. We thought we won it. I had my watch on timing it. I was counting down. We've got 5 minutes to go. We need to hold on. 5 minutes. All I did was just run about and try to distract the defenders because I had this energy to being a swimmer. The third game, we Romanians, and one of our players, he get racially abused by one of their tag-alongs. And they get the lassie. It was a girl that actually racist abused Eldred. The Romanians turned up with holes in their football boots. Right. So that really wasn't a nice thing that happened. And you don't forget things like that. And then the last match was against the Icelandic. They were equally as bad as us, and it was a draw. I actually got a touch of the ball at that time. Did you win against the Romanians? Was that like an automatic win? The Romanians, I think we got beat 2-1. I think against the Romanians. It was pretty bad blood. It was quite bad blood, but not luckily there was no fighting. And then at the end of it, obviously we drew with the Icelandics, and we went and watched the Germans in the final. Did you? And they won. Surprise. And after that, we went to a big, massive, hangar, and we had a rave. There was a rave in the hangar. Never seen it less in my life. And always I remember Simon bursting out green. He was so stressed with it all. Do you know what I mean? Nothing worked right. We nearly get kicked off the bus. We nearly get kicked out the hotel. It was just absolutely horrendous. And that was just a memory, get roped into this sporting. Oh, an amazing story to tell. Brilliant. Amazing. So that was that.
From then, how did you sort of progress on to coaching and have the joy of teaching us? I think it was 2007, 2008, if I put a date on it.
Oh, God. Oh, I don't know. I thought it was a wee bit later than that, but...
Maybe.
No, I think you'll be right. 2008, 2009, maybe.
I think so.
I'm not too sure. Your memories might be better than mine. I'm older than you, remember?
There was a picture of all of us, and this was before I had
That's
Facebook.
Right.
And there was one of us in the poolside at Eastwood Park, and
that's right, yeah.
The helper person, and I think it's when I first got Facebook. That was one of the photos. Are you in this photo sort of thing? Because it sort of does the mad facial recognition thing. But I looked at it and I was like, that was me. And then sort of seen all the guys and that on because I was quite late to the party with Facebook. Well, later than everyone else. You know what I mean? I think it was round about. I know. I think it was round about that sort of time. Sort of maybe 2007, 2008, sort of
2008. I got into it from swimming teaching. Pretty much when I retired. From when I retired, a group of us from the squad went to do a swimming teacher because one of the coaches, Andrina Hammond, was a swimming teacher tutor.
Right.
So I done my swimming teachers, and I loved teaching the kids. So I taught Monday, Tuesday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday morning. Nice. And I took private lessons on top of that. I just loved teaching kids. And it sounds a bit cheesy, but I got to give something back to my sport, and I still kept me in the water. I would get in the water with the kids. And I remember, and then I got involved with coaching with Ren, the young kids at that stage as well. That would be in the year 1999 to 2000. And I just loved it. And then I gave up the coaching, went to coach at City of Glasgow for a little while. I had a junior squad there. And then I just came away from coaching, but still taught lessons. And, it was phenomenal because the kids that wanted to go into the swim team were never the kids that were good at swimming. The kids that didn't want to do it, the kids that wanted to go to the swim team had the heart of a lion. They wanted to go to that swim team, but they had no technique whatsoever. I would take any of those kids with poor technique over any of the ones that were beating them hands down.
Aye.
you know, because along the line, talent only gets you so far,
Mm-hmm.
you know, with anything you do.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else has to come into play.
100%.
So the kid that really wanted it, you know, you would take it. You would take them. But yeah, back then, and then coaching, I came back again to coaching the Masters.
Aye.
And I get a phone call. It was at my great grand's house. Didn't have my mobile number. Is Chris interested in coaching the Masters? And to be honest, I kind of laughed a wee bit because the Masters, you know, they would come in after us when I was in top squad. And you'd be like, all right, who's this guy? You know what I mean? All different shapes and sizes.
I know.
And I was like, right, okay, aye, this will help some money for my fuel bill for all the mad cars that I used to buy and stuff. I was like, aye, I'll go for it. And within a couple of weeks, I was like, these guys are just as dedicated as the guys that I swam with. Guys and girls that I swam with when I was younger, because they've all got lives, they've got families, they've got careers, and they're here 5 times a week, three times a week. And then I got the momentum came with the Masters when I was in the changing room one night, and one of the swimmers, Gordon Wallace, said, "Oh, Chris, yeah, the Scottish Championship, but we've never ever came any better than 6th place." And we're like, all right. Why is that? Oh, we would never get any better than that. And that planted his seed. And when somebody tells me, no, we can't do it, you can't do it, it's not possible. Well, I try my best to make things possible, and it snowboarded for there. And people loved the training, the enthusiasm for myself. More and more people come out the woodwork, you know, and joined the Masters. And you know, we ended up going to the Scottish Masters the following year and came 2nd place.
Superb.
And we would have won it. We would have won it if the under 25 category was included in the championship. At that stage, 18 to 25 wasn't allowed. They weren't classed as Masters as such, because you have to be over 25 to go to the World Masters. But I turned round and we're waiting for the announcement on the pool side. Basically, everyone else is left. They're ready to go for the piss up after it, a big Cayley. And all of us are together. Every single one of us is together on this pool side. And I turned round and in 2nd place, round 96. I'm like, oh, brilliant. Awesome. Close, but no cigar. 1st place, Silver City Blues. And the coach just went, yes. And he's standing up at the top of Toll Cross at the spectators, and I'm like, he's on his own. Where's the rest of the team? They're all getting changed. Where's the togetherness in that? And it was true what everyone said. They were a group of individuals that came together once a year and absolutely demolished the opposition, because they had guys in different age categories that were great swimmers that won a lot of points. A few of the swimmers would do all 16 events, and you know, I'm like, next year you guys are mine. They'd won that championship for 12 years in a row. The following year we went and we developed what was called the master plan, they called it. And it was one of our swimmers, Callum, who said, we need to swim as many events as possible, those that are able to. So that was everything in an Olympic, from the 50s, all the 100s, all the 200s, 400 IM, 800 front crawl. And I was gutted. I missed my 50 back crawl, so I only done 15 events. I think there was about another 5-6ers that done all events. We had swimmers in the slow lane who weren't particularly fast swimmers, but they'd done 400 IMs, 200 butterflies, because nobody else done it. So we basically analysed the results from the past couple of years and said, well, there's people not doing 100 breaststroke in the 50 to 55. Your time could get you a medal. So we strategically looked at it to where we could see where we could get these points from. And I'm telling you, we destroyed them. and that was just an amazing achievement
Aye.
for the club, for everyone. I think we had relay teams as well. It's an age correction,
Aye.
age combination. You amalgamate ages of people together to form 150 plus, 200 plus, and we had so many relays. The club paid for the relays,
Aye.
and it was amazing, and we partied hard. I'd done an acceptance speech, which was over the top, and I basically, at the end of it, I turned around and said, next year, Silver City Blues, you're going to need more than your eye and the tiger to try and beat us. And I flung the microphone down and walked off the stage. The next minute, one of their swimmers came up, grabbed the microphone, absolutely steaming drunk, and started giving us dogs abuse back. And we were like, bring it on, come on. 2 years later, we were undefeated still, and I said to the guys, this is our opportunity to win the British Masters. It came to Glasgow once every 5 years, so it went to England, Ireland, Wales, Scotland, and this is our opportunity to win this. This is our time. We're never going to get a better opportunity.
Aye.
We are doing this. And it was the end of the 5 years, and basically we have done the exact same thing again. We strategically done the programme, swum as many events. At this stage I wasn't swimming particularly well, I wasn't in the water a lot, and we won it. We won the British Masters, and that was a nice trophy to have.
Brilliant.
That was an awesome trophy, and we had a bit of bitterness on home turf, and we had a bit of bitterness from the English, one team in particular who used to, you could swim for two clubs,
right,
and this club would specifically ask other swimmers, they were a big club in London, to swim for them at the British to win points,
right.
and they still couldn't beat us. And at that event they brought in the 200 relays, like the 4x200 relays, which hadn't been brought into Masters before, and we didn't know what was going on, and we were breaking world records, British records, because this was the first time these events had been run. So to win the British Championship as a team, win British medals, we were breaking world records. I've got one of the world records sitting framed in my hall. It was phenomenal, and just to do that, to achieve, and then to see what I put these guys through 5 times a week.
Hell on earth.
You know, we would do a set of 10 100s max. Okay, 50 recovery, 100 recovery. They think they're going to go into a swim down. Okay, climb out. We're doing 100 max, and then we go. You could hear the voices going, "Oh, what? Fuck off!" Or they would swear, or their faces would be like, "No, Chris, no." But I pushed them and pushed them, you know, and I don't think there was many Masters coaches that would do that. And then obviously, sorry, I'm diverting away from what happened with you. Is I got asked to take over the kids. Stuart McDougall got the TE job, and I knew there was going to be trouble. Yeah. When you coach kids, you've got to deal with the parents and the politics and everything.
100%.
And I loved it. I had 3 squads. E1, E1.1, E2. And it was a great balance for me. I had the Masters and I had the kids, and go to the competition with you guys, the banter we had.
It was good.
And
I mean even just like, I remember there's a few points I got down here. I remember, do you remember Dominic Kelly?
Dominic Kelly.
He used to almost swim with.
Yes. Dominic. Yes.
Dominic.
Pocket-sized battleship. What a swimmer he was.
He was. His dad Ray. His dad Ray was just so chilled out. Brilliant guy. I remember it was me, him, Jack Williamson, Ross Young, and sort of Callum Young latterly. We all done the sort of car run in the mornings, and I remember a few stories. I remember like, when Dom was about 6 or 7, I remember like there was one of the Saturday girls that was doing the sort of coaching, and one of the people assistant coaching and stuff like that, if someone can't make it.
Yeah, Rachel. The blonde girl, Rachel.
Aye. He fancied her, man. He was be like, oh, I fancy that, but
What?
I was like, mate, she's like 25, you're like 7. Like, what?
He was like a wee mouse.
Aye, I
He would
know.
never say boo to a goose.
Aye,
So how was he confined in even that, in you?
aye, I know.
Honestly,
I know,
for those that are listening, Dominic Kelly was the smallest kid you've ever seen.
Aye,
At 7, he was probably the height of what Renee is, my wee boy is just now.
yeah.
He was totally, but he was some swimmer, wasn't he?
He's good,
He
mate.
was, yeah, he had a heart of a lion,
I
him,
know.
that boy.
He goes to my gym. I see him, man. He's like big, mate. You wouldn't be calling him wee, Dom.
Is he?
He's a big, mate. He's a big boy, man. He's proper.
Well, that's what happens, isn't it?
I know.
That's what happens.
I know. There's another story. I
Who would
remember.
have thought that, eh? Having a crush on Rachel, eh?
I know. I also
Oh.
mind there was Nicholas Boyle. I remember one time we were at I think it was 100 maxes we were doing, and you were on the pool side, faster, and he pulled like a face, and I remember like I think from memory you didn't know.
He was mental, that boy.
You were like, I don't know whether to go off in one. I'll just laugh it off. It was brilliant.
He used to pull his mental faces like, and do you know what? I could see me and him because I used to be that crazy kid when I was younger as well. You know what I mean?
I know.
He was just away with the fairies,
I know.
and you know, and with that, like, if a coach had seen that, any other coach had seen that, they would give him hell, sent him out, shouted at him. You know what I mean? But
aye.
you've got to realise every kid's different.
And every
You don't know
kid's
what background they've came from.
I know.
Sorry, and you know, and you know, like, so coaching yourself, you were always a smiley young boy. You loved your swimming. You tried so hard. Do you know what I mean? Trunk crawl was your main stroke. I do remember that.
It always was.
And you know, you always tried your best, and I know you'll admit it. You maybe weren't the best in there, but you gave 100%. You gave 100% in that water, you know, and that's all I looked for.
Aye, I
you know what I mean? And I was always very wary because when I swam, I got hurt with my coach because he had some prima donnas, some swimmers that he liked better than me, and they favoured them. And when a coach always favoured swimmers, you know, it was just a horrible thing to see. And I always vowed, if I ever became a coach, I'm never going to have a favourite swimmer. You know what I mean? It might be swimmers I'll talk to more. Sorry?
Because I definitely think you were one of the coaches that was level-headed and quite modest when it comes to, if someone was doing super good and super talented, you would treat them the same as someone that didn't have as a good enough technique, but gave it 100%, if that sort of made sense. But I mean, you always sort of seen that.
Because that's what values matter to me.
I know, because I mean, you'd always sort of seen that, like, sort of back in the day. You would have the people that were really good, that were quite good at swimming, and their parents were really involved in the committee, and they basically jumped up. They jumped up the squads really quick, and then it was the people that, for obvious reasons, the parents maybe didn't. They would been working hard at work, don't have the time to sort of do that, keep a household going. And all that as well. Their kids wouldn't really progress as fast. So I know it's
yes, no, it's true. And nobody progressed in my time that shouldn't have. Nobody was persuading me to move their kid up. You know what I mean? Through, or they should be better. The only time it ever happened was with Andrew Mullen, and when he was in E1, and his mum came to me, and for those who don't know, Andrew went on to become a Paralympic swimmer, and his mum came up and says, "Chris, Andrew's actually 12, and he was swimming with guys 7, 8, 9, 10." And I'm like, right, okay, right, well, that's fine then. If he's 12, he can stay in and do double. He can go in with 1.1 as well. So that's him getting like an hour training session, or was it probably an hour and a half it would equate to. And he jumped up to your squad, E2, and you know, the lifeguards would stop me and say, "I thought I was having a bad day, man," and I'd look at him, you know, and look at the effort, look at what he's doing, what he's achieving. And I was always very much taken aback by Andrew, but I tried my very best not to let that seem to you guys if I was ever favouring him
I know, I know,
more
I know.
than others,
Mm.
you know, because I knew what it was like to be treated like that
100, yeah.
when I was younger, you know what I mean?
Mm,
And I seen it with Sandy Blackwood, with his prima donna. I don't even know her name. She should have went to the Commonwealth Games, the girl,
mm,
and that's all he was interested in. I remember sitting on the poolside at a competition at Tollcross, and he's like, she said, Sandy says, yeah, I'll come back for your final tonight. And she's like, oh, you don't worry about it, it's fine. No, I'll come back. He's coming back for just her final tonight. He
mm,
should be, even though he wasn't the overall leading coach. I'm
mm.
like, he should be there
For
for every
everyone's,
swimmer, and he
I know,
clearly
I know, I know.
didn't. He clearly didn't, and that just appalled me.
I know,
Because I try to love you all, you know. There
I
was
know.
some kids over the years I coached that I maybe didn't particularly like, and that I'm not going to name names,
Mm,
that just didn't want to swim, you know, and probably a couple of times close to them, or I did tell the parents a few home truths. He's not
mm,
interested.
mm.
You know, why you bringing him? No
I know.
interested.
Mm.
Stuff like that.
I've seen it as
But
well. To be
it's
honest, from my sort of perspective, so from my sort of perspective coaching, I've seen it as well. Like
mhm.
you just knew the kids that were, I'll go to the toilet and they're away in the changing room on their phone for the past 20 minutes. You know, like I'd seen that, and it was
It was always a toilet break. It would go to the
aye,
toilet, and then they'd be away for 5 minutes, and you're like 10 minutes, and they come back in the poolside and they get roasted off me. You know what I mean?
aye,
So, but your squad was a great coaching those masters and coaching you guys. I don't
mm,
think, and I went on to coach the Lomond.
aye,
When I moved to Alexandria, the Lomond, I became the headmasters down there, and I coached the kids. And do you know what, Blair? It was never the same.
never the
It was
same
never the
as
same. The kids
either.
didn't react. Nah, as you coaching you guys, the kids
Aye,
didn't react to my coaching style the way that you guys did.
aye,
Some of the parents weren't even, you know, because I was firm but fair,
I
and
know.
we had a laugh and a joke. But at the same time, it was all about getting
Focus.
100% out of every session, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But make sure there was some sort of fun element, or we had some sort of carry on
I know,
to
I
it,
know.
you know.
So that's always
God, I wish
what's.
sometimes I could go back to those days, but
I know,
it was
I know.
exciting, and
It was
hopefully
good.
when Renee grows up, I'll maybe get involved in swimming again, or
Aye,
hopefully I'll get to see
definitely.
kids progress. But
Mm-hmm.
who knows? We'll see what
Aye,
happens.
definitely. So
See what
sort of
happens.
later on in your coaching career, you decided to move to land down under in Australia. So can I ask you what sort of prompted you to sort of go there?
Uh, well, if you want the honest truth,
Mm,
I'd lost my driver's license.
right,
Um, wasn't in, I was driving with no insurance.
right, okay.
I thought I was insured for a vehicle through my mother.
Mm,
She cancelled the insurance. I continued to drive the vehicle,
mm,
and yeah, so I lost my license,
mm,
and I was getting asked to coach Glasgow,
right,
take
okay.
over the Masters there, and after they'd seen what I achieved with Ren,
Mm,
and I would get to coach the kids, and so I'd lost my license, but the main thing that was happening in the club was I was a joiner, but it wasn't my main job. Coaching you guys
mm-hmm,
was the politics involved with the Renfrewshire side.
mm,
I'm not going to name any names or slander anybody here tonight,
aye,
but they know who they are and what they did,
mm,
and they tried to squeeze me out of the club.
mm-hmm,
And eventually, I would rather go halfway around the world than stand on the other side of the poolside and see somebody else coach my masters and somebody else coach my kids.
I know. Mm-hmm,
So I felt I was pushed in the corner, but everyone said, well, you went for that swimming competition in Sydney,
mm,
but you didn't really like Sydney. You love Perth then. And then my best friend was in Perth. I'm like, the stars have aligned. I'm meant to go. So I saved up the money to go,
mm,
and I hated it. I went at the wrong time of year.
aye,
6th of December I left, 2010.
right,
And I just get really homesick. I took my first ever
mm,
panic attack. I get
right,
really bad jet lag. I was building condos on the beach, and I just wanted to get back to the snow in Scotland.
I know. I
What
think.
planet are you on, Chris?
I know. I think as well. Like in your head, if it's the run up to Christmas and that, and you're just thinking, right, I'll go to Australia, start a new life.
Never been away from my family.
I know, and that's the other thing as well. Like you, in your head, you're thinking, oh, run up to Christmas. You're probably 6 chocolates into your advent calendar at this point, and you're going to somewhere where it's crazy hot. Is there someone in?
It's
Like,
roasting.
it's mad.
I was going there to stay with my best friend, and you know, and I just was very unsettled. Poor Simon thought he was getting his best friend back, and 10 days later, £1,000 went to the travel agent. Yeah, that's £1,000 for a flight back home to Glasgow. Would you like to go to Melbourne? Melbourne's amazing. And I'm like, no, just get me home. I want to go home. And I got home, and I was reading a book when I was over there, and it was all about how, I can't remember the name of the book, what you're looking for is right under your nose. And I didn't have to be halfway across the world to live my dreams or try and live out my dream. Even though it was a home of swimming, home is where the heart is for me. I was always very close to my family, or what was left of my family.
100%.
And was the best thing. I would do it again, go there and last 10 days and come home.
Aye, no regrets.
I'd do it again because it was meant to be. No, you
I
can't have that.
Aye.
You have regrets, it just eats away at you.
At least you tried it, you know what I mean? At least you said, right, I've done it, okay, it's maybe not for me, I'll just go up the road.
Aye, and you don't hear of people, nobody puts on Facebook, oh my God, I went to Australia and lasted 10 days, because nobody's going to admit that.
Aye, I know.
The shame of that, do you know what I mean?
Aye.
And what did I do? I waltzed back into the Masters when Adam Fulton had took over my Masters.
Yep.
Not my baby, but my squad that I'd built, you know, and I just jumped in the pool and started training. And some people were like, oh, Chris, you've come home. Somebody was really nasty to me. Other people were just concerned, worried. But me, I was like, I don't give a fuck. I'm coming back to my swimming. And obviously, I just swam with Ren for a few months.
Aye.
Yeah, so
Fair enough.
I know, mental.
So
Plus, I was leaving my dog as well, Saskia.
The Huskies, are they still about, or did they sort of pass away?
Yeah, just Saskia. Yeah.
Saskia.
No, Saskia. She lived. She was 13. A great age for a husky. I mean, if I could have had her on the pool, actually, I used to have her on the poolside in Elderslie, by the way.
Oh, you could get away with it there.
You know, I took her everywhere. Yeah, that's right.
You could get away.
I know what a lot of folk get away with stuff at Elderslie, I'll tell you that. But you could get away with it there, right? And I had her on the poolside at Elderslie, I'll never forget that, on the train. But she came to all the training sessions, stuck in the van or whatever. She was...
I mind Elderslie pool was one of the... It's not obviously not there anymore, but it's one of the pools you jumped in at the deep end, and it'd be about 15 degrees, and you'd swim to the shallow end, and it'd be 35 degrees. There'd be a 20 degree temperature difference, man. It was mental.
Yes. What? That was really bad, wasn't it?
Times you would jump in the pool and you couldn't see 2 feet, like a foot in front of you, just because of the mist. There was mist in that, man. It was
the chlorine. Oh, it was shocking.
Brutal.
That was a bad pool, wasn't it?
I know it was.
And the cough you used to get with the chlorine overdose. You know what I mean? The cough. Your skin would be irritating. Johnston was really bad for that as well. That was another pool. You go in and you come out and your swimming trunks were bleached.
Aye.
By the end of the 2-hour session.
To be fair, I would pick Johnston over Elderslie. If I had to pick, I'd pick Johnston over Elderslie any day.
And now they're both gone. They're both disappeared, which is just...
Two absolute relics.
Yeah, especially Johnston.
I know. So going back to coaching a wee bit here, you coach 6 females to get the world record for a relay across Loch Lomond. Salt and water.
Indeed, I did. Yeah, that was phenomenal, Blair. I went on to coach Lomond, so I moved down to Western Berkshire with Jimmy.
Aye.
And I wanted to have another crack at swimming, qualify for the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow. But, you know, I was a different person from when I was 17. I was in a relationship. I had bills to pay. I was self-employed. I couldn't down the tools and switch off and go swimming. But I had to try and reach a level where I could get lottery funded.
Yep.
And I couldn't string a week of training together. You know, I would do 6 sessions. And I remember one week that I tried to string a full week training, and I walked through the door on a Thursday morning, and Jimmy's like, "What the hell are you doing here?" And my body was in bits. I would be 25, 26 at the time. And my body just couldn't take it. And it's true what they say, you can't put yourself through that pounding. You know, basically, for those you don't know, for 3 months at a time, you felt as though you had the flu-like symptoms. Your whole body was in agony after each training session. You ate after each training session. And you just wanted to sleep all the time. You were in your bed for 9 o'clock. You know, and there's not many sports like that. Football, you go out, you know, the pitch, you're freezing cold, wet, sore legs, you get a shower, you come home, you wake up the next day, you feel a bit sore. You know, you need to train again for another 2 days or whatever. Playing, you know, swimming, there is no let. It's a different level. So, sorry, yes. So I went down and I get involved. I wanted to get involved in the Masters. I was missing the Masters in my life.
Yep.
So I said, and it was a triathlon club as well. So what happened was this woman came along to the club and she said, "I want to swim the length of Loch Lomond as a relay. And here's my 5 pals." And they were middle-aged women. And here's my 5 pals, and this is what we want to do. Right? It says, we went to your triathlon. There was a triathlon competition a couple of weeks previous to that, and there was a woman that had a wee stall who was setting up a swim for miles, she was called, and she was an open water swimmer, and she had basically set up a business to escort people down the loch like you would do for the channel.
Yep.
And so that's what gave Mary this idea, but this woman couldn't train them. So as in coach them every day. So they came to me and I was like, "Okay, and you get," and I was like, "You couldn't swim for shit, man, sorry." They were horrendous. And I was like, "Okay, how's this going to work?" I'm coaching a group of guys for master swimming. I'm coaching triathletes, and now I've got a task to try and get these people down the length of the loch. Now, I've done open water swimming. I know we haven't touched on it. I was in the Scottish open water team, and that came about from the Masters. If it wasn't the Masters, coaching the Masters, I wouldn't have been in the Scottish open water team at the age of 25, 26. I was the oldie. And I got back into swimming. I was training 5-6 times a week. Qualified for the team. Went to France for European Cup races. Went to Hoorn. Got a bronze in the 10K in the European Cup race there. And I've got the Masters to thank that. And I never ever thought in my wildest dreams that I would ever get to represent my country again, or even compete again after what happened to my heart and my foot in triathlon. That was just phenomenal. Just amazing. The trophies is through there from the European races in Holland and France. And so I had this experience of open water swimming. I knew what it took, not to swim the length of Loch Lomond, but I knew what it took to swim in open water. And I'm like, if you can't swim in a swimming pool, what are you going to be like swimming in 16 degrees? Historically, Loch Lomond is 16 degrees in the summer. James Leach, who I touched on earlier on, my friend, I actually escorted him down the loch several times. He holds the world record for swimming the loch without a wetsuit in 9 hours, 15 minutes. And he is the most toughest, hardcore. I thought I was hardcore. I've relaxed a bit in my old age. He is even more. We go at it hammer and tong in the David Lloyd swimming pool, and we bicker at each other and shout at each other. We're so competitive, it's unbelievable. And you need a different type of mindset altogether to swim the length of Loch Lomond, because you are going into hypothermia and you will feel like you are going to die swimming that.
Aye.
So survival of the fittest,
Mm.
you know. But James, I knew the experience with him. The girls knew this, and I helped him.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to him, you're going to need to swim on your own as well, because swimming 3 times a week with me is not enough.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, this woman who had this business, or still has this business, I think, was developing a programme for them.
Right.
So I kept asking every week, where's your programme? Where's your training programme?
Aye.
Oh, she's not done it yet. And it got to the stage one Sunday afternoon.
Aye.
I sat in front of the laptop and I basically wrote the programme. 12 weeks they had to get to this. They weren't even in the water yet because it was still relatively early in the season.
Yeah.
So I wrote the programme, sat them down on the poolside. Here's the 12-week programme. You will follow this programme to every session. Every exact detail I put in. So the volume would go up in the pool and the time would go up in the open water. Wetsuit on first though. We never ever thought about doing it without wetsuits. So what happened was we wore, they were progressing well. And then one lady pulled out, she couldn't commit, and then they brought in a strong swimmer who I knew would do it before the other 5 ladies.
Works in your favour.
Sorry, what?
Works in your favour.
That helps, gives a bit of confidence, and they bounce off to say, well, wait a minute, she's going for this, so she can do it. We all need to do it. They had one swimmer, and Mary, who the woman who came to me with the idea, who was the leader as such, said, by the way, I said, Mary, where is, I forget the girl's name, she's going to kill me. There's a wee card sitting down there, and she sent me, and I says, where is she? I said, what do you mean? I says, well, she's not training. She's part of your team. I'm telling you, you're going to need to make a call soon. If she doesn't get the finger out, you're not going to do this, really. But I knew what I was doing. It wasn't as daft as what I looked or what was coming out of my mouth. I knew, because they were best friends, she would carry back that to her. So she did. And it gave her the kick up the arse that she needed. And all of a sudden, she started appearing at training. But I still had a little bit of doubt with her. So they all went into the open water at different times. And they were all progressing. Maria was aiming to do an Ironman in the same year. She had lost a hell of a lot of weight. And she found it too cold in the water. And then you had Mary, who went out and got mild hypothermia because she just went, oh, well, I need to swim an hour at a time for the relay. So I'll go out and do 45 minutes. Gave her the fright of her life because she went into hypothermia. And then you had Emma, was the weakest link that I said was in the team. Emma, who basically couldn't get up to speed with it. She had bad asthma, God help her. And then you had Cagney and Lacey, 2 girls who were 2 best friends in the team, and they were progressing along nicely. So they were all progressing at different levels. You're like, how are they going to do this? And then I turned around, sat them down, I'm like, ladies, you have an opportunity here. The Royal Marines, who were based at Fastlane, have done this as a relay. But they've never done it under the UK British Long Distance Swimming Association rules. And got it verified and ratified to be an official swim. If we do this official swim without a wetsuit, this will be a world's first attempt and a world record at the same time. And it's a world's first attempt by 6 females, not 6 males, 6 females. So, you know, we got there in the end, as in they could swim for an hour. And I get picked up at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the Saturday morning. And I think I slept that night to travel down to the start of Loch Lomond. So we get the Sweeney's Ferry at Tarbet, and then that ferry took us down to the start at Ardlui. So we went from Ardlui to Balloch, and Mary Doll, because it was her idea, she went in and started the relay off first.
Right.
And all I did was I was plotting the map or the distance they were covering,
Aye.
and giving everyone words of encouragement. You know, looking after them. We were all getting well fed. So when one swimmer came out, somebody else was helping them with their towels while our swimmer was getting ready. And obviously, there's one person in the water at the time. I had to join the British Long Distance Swim Association so I could then verify it. They don't bring somebody official along to do it. They put it on trust.
Aye.
So they're not allowed to touch the boat. They're not allowed to put their feet in the ground. And they're not allowed to touch the feeding pole. So it's a telescopic rod with a cup at the end of it that you could sit another cup in or food in.
All right, aye.
And so they'd set off, I think, about 5 in the morning. And I can't exactly remember where we were at halfway, but we had to go off the Sweeney Ferry when we got back to Tarbert, and we joined this lovely, not steamboat, but it was an all wooden boat. It was gorgeous.
Paddle steamer.
And they looked after us. No, it wasn't like that. It wasn't exactly a big boat. It wasn't a yacht as such. And I remember the weakest link. We're approaching Inchmurren Island, which is the last island that you will approach before you see Balloch, basically.
Right, okay.
And you've got Cameron House on your right-hand side. And who's in the water but Emma?
Right, aye.
The weakest link, the one that I was calling the weakest link. And I was fearful. I really was. And we had our boat, we had a speedboat, and we had 3 canoeists as well.
Right.
And I went to one of the guys to take me out in the canoe.
Right.
I need to get out there. This chop came out of nowhere, and she's breathing into the waves.
Oh, to the chop.
She didn't know to breathe the other way, so she was catching all this water in my mouth. She was getting slower and slower. So I went out and I was like, Emma, breathe the other way. Breathe the other way. And she changed direction, and thankfully she managed to complete her hour. And then all you see is, and it's like, you probably had this yourself, you see Balloch in the distance, but it's just not getting any closer. But the excitement, you know, is getting, you're like, oh my goodness, they're going to do this. And it was just all these people lined up on the shore.
Brilliant.
And yeah, it was phenomenal. You know, and yet again, something I never ever expected to do. You know, or to be presented with a challenge like that, and it was just, it was amazing for them. In their lives to achieve something like that, for all their families to be there with them, their sons, their daughters to see that. Then in the Sea Life Centre, we had a big Stramash champagne right on the rooftop up there, and everyone's congratulating everyone. And then we had a presentation in the hall there. It was phenomenal. Yeah, and it's something to tell the grandchildren in it. 100%. You know, I don't know if the record's ever been beat. It probably should have. Records are made to be broken, aren't they? But that was something else. Did you beat James Leach? Aye. Did you beat his time? Yeah. Did you? No. There's no. I've always wanted to swim the length of Loch Lomond. I'm too skinny, and I'll stick with that. But I recently I lost my friend this year. He had in a tree accident. That's all right. In a tree accident, and he was doing some tree felling, and he lost his life. Chris Moses was his name. He was a Marine, and I used to coach him as well. And I ended up doing joinery work for him. And in my head, even though I hadn't told anybody this year, I was like, I'm going to put myself through the biggest sacrifice that I possibly could do and swim the length of Loch Lomond, or try and do it and raise charity for a chosen charity. And obviously COVID hit and I couldn't do it. But it's still there. Whether I beat James's record or not. See, to be honest, Blair, everything with open water's to do with the weather,
I,
as
I
much as some other sports are.
I think
You
it's
know.
very. I think even open water, you don't really know what's underneath you. It's a lot. It's more psychological. I think. I think
Aye,
that's a
well,
fear. That's a fear factor.
I'll admit it. I can't swim in the sea. I can't do the sea at all. I done one sea swim
Mm,
from Millport to Largs,
mm,
and thankfully there was really bad storms, and everything was all churned up, so you couldn't see. Well, before the race or
mm.
days before the race, you couldn't see the bottom. I don't look at the bottom anyway, even if
Aye,
I'm swimming a loch. I prefer not to see anything.
just
But
diagonal.
Loch Lomond, if you have a tailwind, I
Mm.
would probably, or James would smash his world record from 9 hours 15 down to 7 hours.
What about wind up the
And I
back?
did beat, yeah,
Mm,
basically. And for the loch, for you to get that a tailwind from the beginning all the way to the end
mm.
is not always going to happen.
Aye.
And I remember going with James to Loch Ness. He was going
Mm,
for the world record at Loch Ness, and I was guiding him. And he told me he was on course to break the world record.
aye.
And funny story, so we took the boat, and he
Aye.
had a spare engine, and he says this will give us double the horsepower to get down the loch, right?
Aye.
And we damaged one of the engines, so we could only take one engine down with us,
Right.
and it took us about 3-4 hours. We pitched the tent in pitch black, woke up in the morning, and we're in the middle of a pathway which led to public toilets
Oh
on the
no.
side of the water.
No way.
Well, looking out the tent and all these people are going to the toilet. Oh, it was
Aye.
funny.
Did
And
it?
James was on course to break the world record,
Yeah.
and he got to Urquhart Castle, and the
Mm,
wind direction just changed, and
mhm.
that was him.
Aye.
It just changed, and
Aye.
it was
Did
terrible.
they see any prehistoric creatures when he was swimming Loch Ness?
Aye, very good. That's why I don't fancy doing it, man. Next will
I
come
know.
to get you.
I know. I know.
But if you do have a tailwind, you're laughing.
I know.
And I did break one of James's records
Mm,
for Loch Earn, swimming half of Loch Earn. The girls' race was swimming up the way,
mm.
and we were delayed by like 15 minutes because they had a headwind.
Right.
Our race had a tailwind.
Aye.
I broke the record by something like 10 minutes.
Mm.
I still think it stands.
I should.
And one of the boys that was in the race, well, one of the guys, he was one of my master swimmers who done it with me.
Mhm.
He got hypothermia, and if it wasn't for him getting out because he had bad asthma, he
Mm.
drove to the end waiting for me with his car engine running.
Mm.
That was the first time I ever experienced hypothermia. What a
Aye.
buzz you get for hypothermia, by the way, can I just add? Not that I've ever taken any drugs in my life, but whoa, it's some sort of weird buzz you get, and I just couldn't remember stop shaking, just
Aye.
violently shaking. If he
Aye.
wasn't there at the end, I don't know, I'd probably been carried off in an ambulance. But
Aye.
yeah, that was a memorable, and I wind James up at that.
Mm.
I beat your record for Loch Earn, but
Aye.
for James to hold the world record for Loch Lomond, 22.1 miles, the largest inland stretch of water in Britain.
Mm.
Phenomenal.
What's he done it in? What's his record again?
9 hours 15 minutes.
9 hours. That's mad. That's mental.
That is mad, isn't it?
That's nuts.
But he is a mental guy.
Aye, I know. I know.
He's an
Aye.
absolute legend. And
What?
for me personally,
Mhm.
sorry, on you go.
Aye, sorry. Aye. Loch Earn. That's up sort of Fort William way, isn't it?
I
Is it
think so.
Fort William? I think
Perthshire.
might be Perth. Me and my
Perthshire
pals.
way, I'm sure.
Aye, because me and my pals ended up. We were up at Loch Tay. This like obviously when the restrictions were sort
Oh,
of
aye,
clamped
you went to
down
the
and
log cabin.
Aye, we went to the
Aye.
little cabins up there for 2 nights, man. It was
You go
good.
for a wee dip, aye?
We did actually. We did. It was free. Oh, it was an overcast
Good.
day. It was freezing, and we were.
Oh, aye.
I was like, "This right, boys. We're gonna go down." And one of the guys that was sort of running the cabins, was like, "Oh, you're going the wrong way." So we went this wrong way. We ended up in the back of someone's garden, and long story short, we got diverted back the way we came. And a few boys at this point are like, I just can't be asked with this. I'm just going to sit in a log, sit in a lodge and that. And me and a few of the other boys, we'll go down. It'll be good. We'll get shake the hangover off and stuff, and see everyone that went down. I'm like that at the end of it. I actually feel so much better that I went and done that. Like it feels like they're like,
Good.
Feels so class. I know.
Did you have your beer jacket on, or was all right?
No, I just had my shorts on. One of the boys done it in the scud.
Oh, God. No, I mean, did you have your beer coat on? Were you full of the beverages? The bevy when you done it?
Oh, the booze? Nah.
You missed that joke.
No, the beer jacket. All right, because of the, warming you up, right, that's went right over my.
I know that. Come on, you might be down with the lingo, or do you guys not use that lingo? No.
Well, I don't know.
Your beer jacket. You know what I mean? Because it means you bounce out the dancing and you bounce out the pub with your coat on, and it's like 2 degrees outside, and you're not freezing. Do you know what I mean?
You think it's 32 degrees? No, well, I think we had a few.
30.
I think we had a few Coronas before we went in, but I mean, it wasn't like
nice.
Yeah, we just had a few and then just sort of chilled after it.
Yeah.
Just you're that way when you're after you got the towel around you, you're like nice and warm. You're just dry. It's like, oh, it's good.
Aye.
Definitely, it's brilliant.
Aye, that's a good feeling.
That's a good feeling. Anyway, Chris, thanks for coming on the show. Honestly, it's been a pleasure having you on. Good.
No, thank you.
It's good we've actually got it. I know, obviously, you've been sort of busy with work and that recently, but it's good we've sort of.
Oh, I know. Can
I
just support? I've let this boy down so many times. Cool. I'm murdering it. But I'm so glad. I was so looking forward to tonight. I was swimming beforehand, and
superb.
You know, I was like thinking about it and what we was going to talk about tonight. You know what I mean? And I can't thank you enough for inviting me on. It's a privilege to be on here. So
are you thinking of doing some podcasts
and
yourself?
To see, actually, I was before lockdown. Yeah, I had an idea. I listened to Rich Roll with my old job. I was doing a lot of driving, and I basically sick of the music. So I get me Virgin Radio. Chris Evans was talking about Rich Roll podcast, and I listened to some Rangers podcasts, and I was like, do you know what? They never do any ordinary people. You know, that's local people that's achieved ordinary things, but it's extraordinary to them. So in my gym, I was thinking of people, and there was a guy who's done in his 50s several Ironmen. James Leach, who holds the world record. There's a guy who gave up drinking drugs because if he didn't, he was going to die, and he joined the gym, and now he does triathlons and swimming.
Brilliant.
And I'm just like, there's people all around us that we need to hear their stories to inspire others. I know it sounds 100%. Cheesy, inspire others, but it's true.
I know.
It's true, isn't it? You know what I mean?
I know.
But I know we've had a few gremlins tonight on this, so I don't know, man. And my internet's Now TV, so anybody from Now TV is listening, your internet is absolute absolute rubbish. I've got brick walls here, and I don't know if that helps, but I've got an Ethernet cable. Maybe if I plug that in, that would have maybe helped us tonight.
Definitely keep in touch, and hopefully someday,
I will do.
I might have a swim session back in the pool with you. Go for a swim or something.
That would be awesome.
We should
have a reunion next year.
Me, you, and Andrew Mullen.
We should have a reunion. We should have a wee podcast with the three of us. 100%. I think it would be. I think I'd said to you at the beginning. I thought it would be great to do it in your garden, or it's different when there's somebody in front of you. Like, I'm not used to this technology. You probably are. I really enjoyed tonight, however. But the three of us together, and then you never know. Maybe in the future you might be a famous podcast guy, and you might be interviewing a certain Renee Senna McNeil, who might be a famous swimmer and carrying on the family tradition here.
I know.
You never know.
I know. Anyway, Chris, thanks again. I'll catch you later. All the best.